Trygesis Thursday newsletter. This is for Thursday, January 16th, 2025. Now, today's Wednesday the 15th, so I'm actually doing this a day early, but it's as if I'm doing it on Thursday. If you remember from last week's newsletter where one of the topics was Latin. Pro forma was one of the Latin terms, which means as if. So today's video, I'm also doing this as if it's tomorrow. Okay, so let's get right into it. The main topic we're going to discuss today, I'm going to discuss, is artistry, and that's artistry. That is something we discussed last week. Art versus commerce. So I'm going to sort of expound upon that topic. And the basis or the material I'm using to discuss this is from a man named Bob Lefsetz, L-E-F-S-E-T-Z. It should be on my screen. Now Bob is an American analyst, a social analyst, commentator, and art critic. Art, mostly movies and music. I don't know if he really criticizes as much as he just talks about music. But he will give his opinion. I guess that makes him a critic. I guess we're all critics in that sense. So Bob is interesting. He's from Fairfield, Connecticut, which was right up the road from where I lived for 37 years. I lived in Darien, Connecticut. Darien sounds like Marianne, but it's spelled D-A-R-I-E-N, Darien. But the locals say Darien, just so you know. Anyway, Bob's from Fairfield, and smart guy, bright guy, an attorney. Went to college at Middlebury College. We're outside New England. People don't really know Middlebury too much, but it's a high academic school, small little school up in Vermont. And, so you have to be smart to get in, at least be a good student. Or probably well-to-do. Anyway, Bob went there, became an attorney. If you're into skiing, he writes a lot about skiing. He's, I guess, a pretty good skier. So he was on track to be a professional skier, but I guess for whatever reason, that didn't work out. But he's going into it. But he's into music even more. So he grew up in the 50s and 60s. So when he was coming of age, you know, music was everything. Music moved the culture. And the Beatles, well, Elvis, I guess first, rock and roll, and the Beatles, and they just, you know the history, you know what that era is all about. So that's kind of his starting point. And he writes a newsletter. He posts to it regularly. It's a print newsletter, it's not a video like this one, like mine. And he posts maybe once a week, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. It's kind of intermittent. I guess it depends on how much he skis that week. Anyway, he last week I talked about art versus commerce. Well, this week I want to expound upon that using his newsletter as a sort of base, as a starting point, because his January 6th newsletter was on the topic of artistry, and he also discusses commerce, art and commerce. So that's when I'm going to start his January 6th newsletter. You can read it here, this link. And so he starts the newsletter by saying, giving people what they want is commerce. Doing what you want is art. But that doesn't mean everybody's going to be interested in what you do. But when you get art right, it lasts forever. When you get commerce right, it's evanescent. So think of all the legendary companies and products that have gone out of business or ceased to exist. But art, when it's done right, it lasts for the ages. So that's a pretty good starting point. think we know that things like Picasso, Rembrandt, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, they didn't necessarily do it for the money, but their music and their art has lasted centuries. Now, he goes on to say, artists don't compromise, they don't do what's expedient, they don't put the money first, and they won't do just anything for the money. But it's not like they don't like to get paid, and I think that's what the point is here. Artists put the art first, they don't compromise, and they do like to get paid if they can. Beethoven worked for the church. Or was it Bach? No, Bach, well, maybe they both did, but I know Bach did. He worked for the church, and so he wrote all those great pieces. They were all for Sunday masses, and he just every week he's scoring for a big choir and orchestra, and it was all done by hand. He had a scribe who helped him, but still, it was a big job, and he did it. And I guess you get good when you do something over and over. That's probably why Bach was one of the greats. Now, artists are born, they're not made. People don't like this. You can study forever, you can practice, and still not be an artist, even though you might call yourself one. Artistry is a sensibility, an otherness, a perspective. It's a need to express oneself. So once again, just because you want to put it out there, that doesn't mean anyone's going to pay attention. And I think my band is probably living proof of that. So we try to be artists, but is anybody paying attention? I don't know. But we do what we want. We're not doing it for the money. So I think that at least puts us more on the artistry category than the commerce category. He goes on to say, just because you can post on Spotify, that doesn't mean you're going to get paid. If anything, few artists and acts can be ultra successful today. Because unlike in the past, the greatest of yesterday and the greatest of today are only a fingertip away online. I guess what he's saying is Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Amazon Music, all those streaming, they're just a thing, anybody can access them immediately. Yes, he goes on, yes, if you're a singer-songwriter and you don't sing and write as well as Joni Mitchell, you're never going to be as big as her, at least not for long. So Joni Mitchell, anybody who knows her music, they know she's amazing. Well, she's also a fabulous painter too, so she's an artist. She never compromised on her art. She did what she wanted. When she switched to the jazz from pop, a lot of fans didn't like it, but you know what? That music lasts till today. So, she's still around. She's still performing. She's still putting herself out there. So, anyway, we go on. Since art cannot be measured, non-artists default to numbers, qualifications, chart positions, and touring income. But think of all the acts that did big numbers at the box office, but they can't get arrested today. Here today, gone tomorrow. Isn't that what they say? So yeah, that's an interesting point. Chart position. It's all, if you follow the music industry. Well, can you even name one artist who's number one in country, number one artist in rock and roll today, in rap? Do the charts even mean anything today? I don't think so. Well, not much. Maybe they mean a lot to the people who are on the charts and the record companies, but I don't think being at the top of the chart means a whole lot, because there are probably lesser known acts. No, there are probably acts who are touring that no one knows about, or very few people know about, but they're making a ton of money touring, but they're not on the charts. So the whole industry has changed. It used to be you had to be in the charts, go on tour, and make money. But now, the whole industry has changed. So I guess that's what he's kind of getting at there. Artists know what their specialty is, and they don't stray from it, unless they're having fun and let their audience know this is the case, which is why most brand extensions don't ring true. Yeah, you can sell clothing and perfume, but are you really a designer? People might buy your products, but it undercuts whatever credibility you have, assuming you have any at all. I think he's probably talking about people like Rihanna, who had a music career, but now is selling perfume or clothing, whatever she's selling. So is she an artist? Does she have credibility as an artist? Some people, she probably doesn't care. She's probably making $1 billion, so, but that doesn't, making $1 billion does not make you an artist. And that's the thing. Are you going to be a sellout? And so, a lot of people would. Everybody has a number, they say. Sometimes the public embraces artistry out of the box. A good case would be Elton John's Your Song. Then again, Elton put out a previous solo album in the UK that meant nothing in America. Never mind playing piano for acts before that. Chances are, if you're starting today, you're not going to be embraced tomorrow as an artist. Artists develop. They hone their chops and figure out what works. And a true artist knows when to ring the bell, but hacks don't. So, ask someone who has a legendary cut. They knew it when they made it. It might not have gone to #1, but they knew it was phenomenal. And you can only create something phenomenal occasionally, no matter how hard you try. But you keep trying. I think that's kind of what Charles Bukowski was getting at in his poem, So You Want to Be a Writer. It's got to be a great writer, it has to be all-consuming. It's all you think about, and to not do it would drive you crazy, drive you insane, so you have to do it. And when you do it, and you get it right, there's nothing better. You can't always get it right, but you keep trying. And he makes the case that there's too many hacks, and the libraries of the world are filled with mediocrity. So don't be one of them. So either you have it or you don't. And you know when you create something great, you just feel it. But it's hard. It doesn't happen often. And sometimes a little light bulb goes off for that. You recognize that little spark, and you're off to the races then. So you keep on trying, just to keep getting that feeling. That's what drives artists. Like he says, you drink gasoline. Be radical, be cutting edge. So Lefsetz continues. But business doesn't like artistry. Business likes insurance. They like guarantees, which is why business insists that you work with others. They keep polishing the turd, thinking they know what's successful. But most of this work doesn't hit. And even if it does, it's forgotten. Sure, there can be artistry and collaboration, push and pull of creation, but when the goal is commerciality and you get multiple people involved, you lose the vision. And songwriting is all about the vision and the chops. So if you look at a lot of today's top songs that are top of the charts, especially the pop, there's like 12 literally 12 writers. Now when you have 12 writers on the song, what is the artist's vision? And then you listen to the words of it. Well, these are stupid lyrics. It's about going to a bar and drinking and partying and dancing. Okay, that's fine. It's been done a gazillion times. and it might actually be catchy. But is it going to last 500 years? I mean, maybe the very best of the going to the bar and getting loaded songs will last 500 years. But the other, 99.999% of them are going to be lost in the whatever. Never heard from again. It continues, but usually artistry takes a while to be embraced by the public. People don't understand it because it's so different. They have to be exposed to it. It has to percolate in their brains. And don't let anybody tell you that the game trumps the art. People who will say today's number one is just as good as yesterday's, that's patently untrue. I mean, think about it. My kids still listen to music that's 60 years old. Songs like Yesterday, or Side 2 of the Beatles' Abbey Road, the Led Zeppelin songs, The Who, Quadrophenia, Tommy, and Rolling Stones. To this day, they're still playing it, young people. In fact, when my son graduated a couple years ago from college, we were walking through campus and there were a lot of parties going on. All the seniors were having parties. But coming out of most of the houses was like 1970s rock. And I said, Zach, don't these people play any new music at these parties? I don't know. Because the old music just sounds better. For partying anyway. So, for what that's worth. But the music lasts. I guess that's the point. And edgy. I think art has to have an edge. I think that's what the other point Bukowski made. If you read Bukowski, he is so edgy. I mean, he really pushes the envelope. But art, like I said above, is not easily quantified, nor is success predictable. Gatekeepers hate art, which is why you get sequels in the movie business. I mean, when's the last time the movie business put out a great movie that was not animated or wasn't a superhero movie? I mean, think of all those great movies we used to see back in the 70s. One of my favorites was a foreign movie called Babette's Feast. It's a fantastic movie. But how many people have seen it? But, man, it's just a great story. And then you even had fun movies like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And that's a Western. A lot of people don't like Westerns, period. But anyway, now we get a bunch of sequels. Sequels are safe. They're guarantees like insurance. So I think goes back to the whole idea of business and commerce. Commerce likes safety and insurance and guarantees. Art doesn't care about that. So, as for the public, it always wants the newest and different and unpredictable. But that bar is extremely high. The work must resonate, and this is difficult to achieve. Oftentimes, you fail in your effort. So, you think about all the acts that have hit records, and then they try to repeat that formula. They make another record that sounds just like the last one. That almost never works because even though people say they want something like what came before, they really don't. They want something new and different. And I can think of a bunch of examples. Madonna is probably the obvious one. She had the material girl look. All her, maybe it was borderline. I don't know. She had some look that all the young, her teenage fans sort of copied. And they would go to her concerts and so these little girls dressed just like Madonna. And then Madonna changed. She changed her whole style. So what she did last year is now out of fashion, but she's always one step ahead, and that made her a bigger star than ever before. Same with the Beatles. They did Rubber Soul. That was a breakthrough. Then they came out and they did like Revolver and Sgt. Pepper and Abbey Road. And then they blew up because, you know, I don't mean blow up big time. I mean blow up because they were just, there was too much talent for what to be confined to one little record. And another classic example is Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. He wrote all those fantastic surfing numbers, right? Beach numbers. His father wanted him to continue doing it, but Brian rebelled. He went out and he wrote Pet Sounds, which has my favorite song maybe of all time, Caroline No. Just a haunting melody. But had he kept writing beach songs, we never would have had Caroline No. So, yeah, the artist is always, Neil Young also does that. He just keeps changing and changing and changing. And sometimes he fails. Or I won't say fails, because trying to be different is not a failure, it's just, it is what it is. But sometimes that failure leads to even better stuff. You're constantly, an artist is constantly refining, molding, shaping. Not only each song that they make, but also their entire body of work to be changing. They're trying to get better, expand it. So that's what an artist does. Artists are leaders, and this is Lefsetz again. This is exactly the point I was making. Artists are leaders. They're ahead of the game. The commerce comes to them. They don't chase commerce. The commerce comes to them. The commerce comes to them because they're always new and exciting and different, and that's what people want. And that's hard to do. Not many people can do it. So artists constantly try to reinvent themselves. Sure, there's a business in going on the road and playing your greatest hits year after year, but that's not artistry. And this is where I'm going to take a risk here and talk about Paul McCartney, because he's always on the road touring around the world, which is great. But when's the last time he wrote a record during COVID, so maybe he's due for another big record. I'm hoping he's writing. But when's the last time he had a hit? It's been a long time. He did something with Rihanna and somebody else. You know, I guess that's what artists do when they can't write hits. They collaborate with other people. I mean, like, yeah, I guess that's a collaboration. So hoping Paul gets some. I know he's got some more music in him. He better. It just doesn't die. So sometimes edginess in artistry is about shock. And that worked for Frank Zappa and Alice Cooper. But right now, in the unfettered internet era, almost nothing is shocking. Not even Rammstein. Yeah, 2 stories about Alice Cooper and Devo. So I remember when I was younger reading about Alice Cooper, and his band was playing someplace, and they literally got booed off the stage and people threw stuff at them because they were just so edgy. Well, back around 76, maybe earlier 74, Devo played at Kent State. And the same thing happened to them. People hated them. They got booed. You know, Devo was from Akron, Ohio, right down the road from Kent. But they got booed off the stage because they were so edgy. People didn't understand it, and that makes people uncomfortable. But you know what? 3 years later, Devo was on Saturday Night Live playing that song, you know, their version of Satisfaction by the Stones, and they just got huge overnight. And my kids like Devo. That song Mongoloid, my kids laugh every time they hear it. They love that. So, and that's what, 40-some years old now? So, yeah, art lasts. And Mark Mothersbaugh went on to a great career in the movies, writing soundtracks. If you have kids and maybe you remember the cartoon, The Rugrats, well, Mark Mothersbaugh did the music for that. So, these people are artists. It's not a fluke. Art causes a reaction. it oftentimes rubs people the wrong way. That's just what I was making the point. Art should make people uncomfortable. I mean, it doesn't always have to. Sometimes it's just like you can be overwhelmed with the beauty of art. Sometimes art is making a statement, and that statement makes people uncomfortable, and that's also one of the purposes of art. But when artists get it right, fans need to tell everybody they know about it. Yeah, word of mouth is the best sales technique. I don't know if I call it technique, it's just the best way to make sales is word of mouth. You want to find those super fans who are evangelists for your music. That's the same with companies, these startup companies. When they no one knows about this. How do these companies get big? Well, oftentimes it's because they have a few passionate users of their product or their website or whatever, and those hardcore fans become evangelists for the product or the company, and that's how that word of mouth grows and spreads. So let's go on. The lack of artistry not only killed the mainstream movie business, but network television. If you're playing to everybody, you're losing. Everybody is never going to agree. If you're not hated, you're not an artist. It goes with the territory. That's probably pretty true. Think about the Beatles. People burnt their records. What did John Lennon say? And he was probably true, just was shocking to people. They didn't want to, first of all, they didn't go through what he went through as a Beatle, where they couldn't leave their hotels or the airplanes or the arena. They couldn't go out in the public. But everybody in the world knew them. And he made that comment, we're more well known than Jesus. Well, they probably were at that time. Because maybe in some of these foreign countries, people had never heard of Jesus, but they knew the Beatles. And that caused people to then burn their records, have record burning parties. Well, you know what? John Lennon lasted. His music is, I think, they even play Imagine at Jimmy Carter's funeral. So I think that speaks for itself. So you want to be pushing people's buttons. You want to be challenging them. You want them eager to hear what you're going to do next. Again, go back to Neil Young. Couldn't wait to hear Neil Young's next record. Couldn't wait to hear the Beatles' next record. And we always wanted it to be different. Maybe similar, but different. A good example of that is evolving. It's kind of weird. It's kind of devolution too. Pete Townshend's record of The Who, Who's Next? There's no synthesizer. Remember, Pete Townsend got really well known because of the synthesizer worked on the album Who's Next? But people, critics, were saying, no, we rely too much on synthesizers, not enough on guitars. So Pete Townsend did a whole record with no synthesizers, just his guitar. I think it's fabulous. So he kind of went backwards, didn't try to please the critics, but he also was a great record. So there is that. Except for the song Squeeze Box. That was the big hit. It's like a stupid song. Kind of funny, but not his best work. Not his best moment. Okay. But it used to be, in the pre-internet era, that the world was small. And artists coexisted along the hacks. That was pre-internet. They could be seen, they were in the landscape. To get a major label deal and distribution, never mind press and radio was nearly impossible. It was only for a select few. That's because of the gatekeepers, right? But now, everybody can play. Everybody tells you to compromise, to give the public what it wants. Well, that might get you a look, but it's not going to get you a sustained one. If you hit overnight today, chances are you're going to be forgotten tomorrow. Most people don't even know what is number one these days. That's in there earlier. Despite the press banging them over the head with it, the press is about consensus. The press is last when it comes to artistry. Just like most news stories break somewhere online before they end up in the major media. Today you go straight to the people, to the audience. They are the tastemakers, not the intermediaries who are too invested in the system to understand the breakthroughs. It's mainstream media he's talking about. They're too invested in the system to understand the breakthroughs. So today you go to the people, the audience. They're the tastemakers, not the intermediaries. We are too invested. The intermediaries are too invested in the system to understand breakthroughs. And that's where I was talking about the cartoons for the Washington Post. They wouldn't print her cartoon because it was her political cartoon. It was too edgy. So she said, no, screw it. In the old days, this would have gotten printed. You guys are too wimpy. You're not giving people edginess anymore. You want to whitewash everything, cleanse it, make it palatable for as many people as you can. And that's fine. It is a commercial enterprise. They have the right to decide. But she quit, and since they refused to endorse a candidate for president, they lost like what, 300,000 subscribers. They'll probably lay off people now. It's just, sometimes you make bad decisions. People want the truth. They don't want it whitewashed. And I think one good example of that is, okay, we have wars in Ukraine, we have wars in Gaza. And it's pretty sanitized what we're getting. We might get a picture of the destruction. But, you know, where are all the bodies? You don't see anybody dead. But the reality of war is people get blown up. They get shot. They die. It's horrible. Children get killed. Women get killed. You know, civilians get killed. They call it collateral damage, right? Well, what did that little baby do to deserve to die in a war? Nothing. But we don't see it. I guarantee if those dead babies were shown on the mainstream media, there would be an outcry and these things would end a lot sooner. Like in Vietnam. I remember watching the nightly news during the Vietnam War, and you would see the dead bodies. You would see the body count. They would tell you how many Vietnamese were killed, how many U.S. soldiers were killed. I tell you, that stuff had an effect. I don't think there were very few people who wanted that Vietnam War to continue. They were always happy when that ended. But when you whitewash it, when you keep it out of the public's view, well, guess what? They continue. They continue. The money a lot of money is being made off of these wars, by selling weapons. So, but we're not seeing that. But that's the problem with mainstream media and whitewashing everything and taking away the edginess. So Lefsetz continues. Now, go on here. Just because it is outside and championed by fans, that does not make it art. That's all tastemakers have got, their taste. And if they like what you do, they have nothing, which is why you oftentimes disagree with the critics. If something makes an impact and lasts forever and is embraced by the public at large, there's a good chance it's art. Back in the 70s, the rockers hated the Carpenters. Now they love them. And one thing you've got to know about the Carpenters is they went against the grain. When everybody else was getting dirtier in their music and physical appearance, they were purveyors of clean and sweet. Yeah, Karen Carpenter was great. What a voice. And you know, they had a couple of big hits with Burt Bacharach songs. So I mean, Burke is no slouch. So yeah, sometimes being different. And they're also from New Haven, Connecticut, I believe. So you know, they smart people, good songs, talented, and they've lasted. I still play the Carpenters Christmas on occasion at that time of year. Okay, artists, read, and audience. but they don't kowtow to the public. Good point. Think about Nirvana, Kurt Cobain. He didn't kowtow to the public. He didn't change. And unfortunately, he died young, but that was a good example of just being true to yourself. As for the Grammy Awards, they belong in the closet or the bathroom. Chances are, if you're boasting about your Grammys, you're a hack. So I can relate to that one. In my career in TV, I won 2 Emmy Awards. One for a show I worked on about hospice care, and that was broadcast actually on CBS on a Sunday morning. And it was pretty edgy. I mean, it was about people dying and how they'd be taken care of in a hospice. It was a very sad thing to watch, but it was also really important to get that message out about hospice care. So that one again, so I did like that one. But then I won another one for a sports Emmy for NBC Sports when I worked on the Premier League soccer matches. And well, let's go back to the first Grammy. They don't give you a Grammy. They don't give you the trophy. You got to buy it. So I didn't buy the first one. And then we had a chance to buy the second one. It was like $500. I think it was big. It was beautiful. Came in a big gold thing. Came in a big wooden case with velvet. But what am I going to do with it? Put it on my shelf? I have to dust it on occasion. I saved the $500. It really wasn't that important to me. And besides, I was just part of a crew that won it. The technical crew, it wasn't like I won it. The whole crew won it, and they should have maybe just, I think they put one on display at NBC Sports headquarters. That was good enough for me. So, anyway, now more than ever, we want artists. Oh, so I guess my point is, if I won a Grammy, I don't even know if I would go to the award ceremony. Maybe I would, I don't know. But you win. Could you even say what was the song of the year last year? No one knows anymore. No one cares. So that's sort of how I feel about those awards. Now more than ever, we want artists. But the system is built for commerce. But the barrier to entry is nearly non-existent, and therefore it's hard to get noticed. Like 50,000 songs are uploaded to streaming media every day. So you might have heard some of our songs, maybe you haven't. So we've uploaded 3 since last October. Well, if 50,000 are uploaded every day for the last October, November, December, January, 4 months, do the math. In millions of songs. What chance do we have of getting our 3 songs listened to? It's really hard. It's simple to get your songs out there. Remember back in the day, the 60s and 70s, to make a record was a big deal. And there actually was a really famous book, How to Make and Sell Your Own Record. I can't think of the woman's name, but it was a popular book, and a lot of independent artists actually did make their own records back then, and they would tour. But that's kind of what you have to do today. But it's so cheap to make your own record. Anybody can do it, make a record, a recording. But selling is a different story. That's why, as artists, we don't worry about making money. We're lucky we've reached a point in our career where we can just make the art and the music that we want to make and not have to worry if it's going to sell or not. So. Anyway, artists always get noticed, even though it might take decades. And I think that's the reality of today. If your music's good, it will eventually break through. But it might take a long time. It could take decades. This is good news for young people. They've got time. I'm 65, so it's going to take decades for my music to break through. I'm in trouble, but that's okay. Maybe my kids will get a royalty. There are very few artists, even though so many people think there are. Well, that's probably true. Artistry is not enough to be successful. You have to have the desire, the perseverance, the ability to forgo almost everything, family, material wealth, in pursuit of your art. And I think that goes back to Charles Bukowski's poem, So You Want to Be a Writer. You know, you don't do it for the money. You don't do it to get women in your bed, or men, whatever the case may be. You don't do it because you want the fame. You do it because you have to do it, because it's burning. And, you know, I play guitar every day, and I work on the songs I've written. I'm constantly trying to improve. Yeah, but at this point, you write a song, the improvements become just smaller and smaller increments. You're refining until maybe you finally get sick of hearing the song and you move on right moving. So that's kind of where I'm at every day. And if I miss a day, boy, it's like running. When I used to run when I was younger, you know, when you get into routine, your body has to run. You know, you'll be jumping out of your skin if you can't get out there and run 2 or 3 miles. And that's kind of with playing guitar. I mean, if I don't play guitar every day, if I can't write, if I can't at least think about the music, it just drives me up the wall. I have to do it. I don't know if that makes me an artist or not, but it makes me want to try to be an artist. So the true artists don't complain about Spotify payments or about the cost of going on the road. They know it all works out in the end. So assuming they stay true to their art, their vision, and keep on keeping on. That's true. I think one YouTube view generates like 0.003 cents. If you do 1,000 views, you might get $1, or 3,000, whatever. I mean, it's 670 views, you get $1. So anyway, it takes a lot to make any money in streaming, which is why so many artists go on the road. They build their audience that way. And I think a few weeks back in the newsletter I posted about Steve Poltz. He had a fantastic one-man show in Tucson. And it was like 2.5 hours. He was just non-stop. Told these great stories, had some really nice songs, a fabulous guitar player. And you know, he's an artist. No doubt about it, he's an artist. And he has a good living, and he's lucky. He's been doing this long enough and had a couple of hit records that he doesn't have to worry about doing it anymore. He could retire tomorrow, but he keeps on doing it. And that's what an artist does. They keep on doing it. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up this week's newsletter, and I'm going to say that the basis for this newsletter was the Bob Lefsetz newsletter, and from January 6, 2025. Now, I heard about Lefsetz. Well, you might want to read him. He's got 20-some years of his newsletters online for free in his archive. And you can search for certain topics. It's got it's a great resource. Now, he does tend to skew to the liberal side. But I heard about him. So I read a newsletter by a man named John Malden, Mauldin, and Malden is a PhD in economics, but he's a conservative economist. But he wrote in his newsletter about Lefsetz. And he even suggested to his conservative readers they should read Lefsetz because you want to get the whole picture. If you want to understand the world, you've got to read the left and the right. You can't just be in your echo chamber. You're missing what's going on. And it's part of the problem with the mainstream media. They missed Trump. They didn't see what was going on. You've got to see both sides of the spectrum. So, so that's Lefsetz. Check him out. And then I have to do one more thing. My friend Tom Lalios from Connecticut, who sells his coffee, Deadly Grounds. This week's flavor is French vanilla. So I love the little guy with the toe tag on his foot. Deadly Grounds at getdeadly.com. And I don't get paid for this. I'm doing it for, he's a friend. And I've known Tom for a long time. We did a lot of videos together. Figured I should mix a little commerce in with my art. And I don't get paid for either one. I don't make any money from doing promotions. I don't make any money from my music, so it's all good. Okay, that's it for today. I'll see you next Thursday for Volume 2, Number 3. It will be January 23rd, 2025. See you then.